Okay, I think we're working here. I think we are working. Okay, Frank Paris here. How are you? Another new toy, another new gadget that Frank Paris came up with. Um, this is not necessarily having to do with magic, although, I mean, obviously, I'm a magician and I'm using this particular prototype as a magic prop, a magic uh, trick or a magic prop that's going to be in my shows. And I have been building robots for the last 25 or 30 years, promotional entertainment robots, which you see at trade shows, and they come up to you and they talk to you about the product or service that the particular client has asked you to uh, push, and you bring them over to the booth. And of course, it may be a bank, it may be an insurance company, it may be an investment firm, or that kind of thing. So these are the robots that I have been building for the last 30 years and using and renting, along with performing as a magician or doing trade show magic or doing a party, whatever kind of thing. And so this particular item, this particular um, um, unit that I'm building right now, this prototype that I'm building right now, uh, could only be built with. Let me see if I can just get up out of camera for a second. So I'm out of camera. It could only be built by using um, a transmitter, a hobby transmitter. Okay, one of these guys, one of these big guys, and a receiver. Okay, so that is a 10 channel hobby remote control, and it operated the arms on the robot. It operated the forward motion, forward and backward motion, the 360 or tank style steering motion, going either way on the robot. It also allowed you to add a channel for the head and the arms and that kind of thing, and any kind of blinking lights that you want to turn on and off. Just give me 1 second here. I want to put this on robot. There we go. And I'm going to just move this back a little bit so that we can kind of see what I've got here. So basically, you needed a big hobby robot like this to do it. Okay. There were companies when I was first starting in the business that had the technology and the wherewithal to build handheld remote controls to operate the robot at a trade show to bring people into a booth by using a handheld remote control. But the technology was very expensive, and you literally had to have a lot of money invested in your company as a robot rental company, entertainment robot or promotional robot rental company, in order to do this. So for me, in the robots that I built and rented, I was old school. I used a hobby remote control, and this would be bungee cabled from here and here around my waist underneath my jacket. Okay, and I would control the robot doing that, and I had a wireless mic in my hand, and I would transmit my voice to the robot. Let me show you. I have a robot back here. You can see one of my robots back here. I'll get out of the way. You can see this guy right here. This I built for a TV show called Brain Games, and after the episodes that I did, they gave it to me. They had no use for it, which was nice. There aren't that many companies that'll do that these days. Anyway, so this runs off, a wheelchair motor battery, and it's heavy and that kind of thing. So, but, but after all these years, I finally, on Amazon the other day, must have been maybe 3 or 4 or 5 days ago, I found a remote control this size, okay? So you can see the difference in size between this and this. Now you've got two joysticks here, okay? Two joysticks, and you can use one of the joysticks here for the arms and things like that. But now they've kept the joystick in the middle, just one, to control forward, backward, 360 this way, 360 that way, left and right if you choose, by just moving this back and forth. And you've got your other buttons, okay, other buttons to activate whatever else you want to. Now, here's the thing. Well, how does this relate to magic? How does this apply to a magician or a performer? Well, anything that you want to activate, okay, that requires either motors or some kind of a mechanism or gadgetry, you can now use with this transmitter and the receiver I'm about to show you, okay? So the receiver is nothing for this guy. It's only about the size of a matchbook and maybe the thickness of about a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch. Fine, okay? So we're not talking about the receiver end of it. We're talking about the transmitter end of it. This now does what this guy can do. And I can hide this in my hand. I can stand up and I can have this in my hand. Or I could have it Velcro to the table, and every time I go to use this, okay, I bend down, make believe I'm looking for something here, and I use it and activate some magic problem that's going on. Now, let me be clear about this. This requires you to activate something that's motorized, or something that is sorry, I'm just looking at my camera. Something that's motorized, and also something that activates either with a switch on or off. Okay? So if you have any of those applications in your magic repertoire, whatever it might be, okay, then this is perfect. So this is the transmitter now, which replaces this big guy right here. And all you got to do is memorize the key configuration here if you need to use anything other than the joystick. Now, I know I'm digressing and I'm moving forward slowly, but the receiver on this guy, okay, is the same size basically as the receiver on this guy. Okay, so you're not buying anything. You're not buying anything with the receiver side, but the transmitter side, you're buying a lot. Look at the real estate here, and you got to carry it around your waist, or you got to hold it in your hand so it's obvious that somebody's going to see it. But with this guy, I'm here, and I've got it maybe behind my back, or I'm standing here and I'm doing some kind of activity, and it's doing something over there that I'm not aware of, but the audience is aware of. So you can see that this particular kind of remote control that just came out is a lot more practical than something this big. All right. So bearing all of that in mind, let me tell you my application. My application has to do with Anverdi. If you're a magician, you know who Anverdi was, or you may know who Anverdi was. If you're a new magician, maybe you don't know. Excuse me. But for old timers, for people like me, not old timers, but I don't consider myself old timers, even though I am an old timer. For people like myself who remember Anverdi's products, he was an innovator when it came to electronics and creating things that magic-wise, that were activated by a transmitter. A deck of cards would make a card rise up in the air. He would have a transmitter, a remote control, that kind of thing. And so he would do things like that. He would build things like that. And people would buy them, but they were very expensive. And he was around during the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. I'm not sure when he passed away. But he was manufacturing those things, but he was using old school electronics. I mean, you know, surface mounts on breadboard type things, and technology that we've gone way past by now. This is now the equivalent of this guy right here, and you have a receiver to activate whatever you command using this transmitter remote will activate the receiver. Okay, so that, bearing that in mind, let me tell you what I'm building. Anverdi made a remote control table. Remote control table. And that remote control table would move a table forward, back, left, right, twist it this way, that way, whatever. And it would do it unbeknownst to the performer. Obviously, we did know what was going on, but it was a comedy bit. Terry Herbert used his Anverdi table on stage, okay, like a train. I don't remember the act, but I remember the fact that what I saw when Terry Herbert had the Anverdi table was the table at the end of whatever he was doing go off stage with a smoke stack, coming out of one of the props with smoke coming out, and he had some kind of choo-choo music on, choo-choo, choo-choo, and you would hear the train moving off stage. So I thought that was pretty funny. Maybe there's something up there on Terry Herbert on YouTube that shows you what he did with his table, but it was a remote control table, and he had somebody off stage controlling it, obviously, because again we were dealing with transmitters this size, right? And obviously if he couldn't do it. Now what I've done was I bought a bunch of these. I think I bought 3, 4. I think I bought 6 of these. Never know. I buy them because I buy a lot, 4 or 5 of an item, especially when they're innovative like this, so that I have them in case I need them. And this particular item comes as a transmitter in a box. It's called the DS600 remote control, and it's on Amazon. And it has 6 channels, okay? Chances are you're not going to activate 6 items on stage. I mean, you may want to activate 6 items on stage, but this particular item I am using just 2 channels, okay, for this particular application. And I've got the base of my remote control table that I'm working on. Now this is a prototype, and the reason it's a prototype is because this is, initially I built this using this remote control. Okay, I've since taken out the receiver, placed it on the side. This is the transmitter, which I use for my big robot here, which I don't have to use anymore. I've got this guy, believe it or not. If I train myself to use the button pattern in my left hand or my right hand, I'll be able to control the functions of the arms moving up and down, or the robot left, right, forward, backward, and tank style spinning one way or the other, 360, with this guy. And I won't need the big remote anymore. So this is innovative, and I have not seen this before. I've seen bigger units like this working with drones and working with the remote control cars, okay? But they were almost double the size, okay? And you had a wheel. I don't have that on this. There's no wheel that I have to turn to make the car go forward or back or that kind of thing. And I'm not familiar with those kinds of items. This comes paired, P-A-I-R-E-D. So the transmitter out of the box can talk to the receiver. So what other components are involved? Well, let's look at it, okay? And this is, by the way, this will be on the prototype. This is going to be Velcroed on. And then there'll be a shaft, and then there'll be a tabletop. Okay, and I'll put a prop on it or whatever. I have a smoke machine that I've invented, which it looks like a smokestack, and I'm thinking about putting it behind the prop and making this thing go off stage, like a train, like Terry Herbert did. But this piece of wood is basically the same as this piece. I bought these at, give me a second, Hobby Lobby. I also bought them at AC Moore, which is out of business, and Michaels sells these also. This one's a little bit bigger than this one. The little one is to cover the electronics. Okay, and again, this will be Velcroed 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there'll be a hole with a shaft mounted on here. It'll come up maybe as high as this particular table. and there'll be a prop on it, okay? And you can make your tabletop as big as you want. And as far as mounting it on the top here, I'm using a flange from Ace Hardware, a screw-in flange, a piece of pipe, or I think I might use PVC, with the flange male jammed in there and epoxied, okay? So you've got a piece of PVC like this. You've taken the male flange, you've stuck it in there, and the female flange is here. It's screwed into this. So you've conveniently created a little table, which you could unscrew and take apart and bring with you in a case. You don't have to have the whole thing connected. Okay, so getting back to the electronics, we'll put this on the side, and let's talk about the wiring schematic. All right. You get this. Let me open up this box so you can see. Okay, you're going to get this little black bag, and in it you'll find your transmitter. I'm going to take it out because you see it right here. And in there also is the receiver. Now, a little bit something about the receiver. The receiver has an antenna, okay, and it has a pairing doodad, okay, and they show you online how to pair it, but they come paired, so you don't have to pair it. Right out of the box, you can activate the transmitter and the receiver. This is the receiver, and you can activate it. Now, I just got to do this part for you. Okay. You do not get any receiver wires, so you'll have to order those separately. You do not get receiver. These are the receiver wires. Okay, this is not a single receiver wire. This is a double receiver wire. Usually when you get the receiver wire, it's going to be a male and a female. Okay, the male plugs into the receiver right here. Plugged into the receiver is the three little pins for each channel. Okay, and when you plug that in, okay, this end is cut. We'll get to that in a second. But you get a male and a female like this, one wire. Okay, this is a double. This is a 1 to 2. We're not going to be using this particular thing, but I ran out of the single wires. Normally you would get a wire that goes from here all the way across to here. Female, male. Okay. When you are using that one wire, okay, and these are called servo wires, okay? When you're using it in the application that I'm using here, you would cut this end, all right, the female side, okay? Because you need the white, the red, and the black. That's all you need with the one wire. So this, make believe this is not here. You've got a male and a female, you're going to cut the female. Okay, this is for this application, for the remote control table. All right, now what I've done, I'll get back to this in a second, is I've taken my two motors and I've soldered a wire on each end. Two motors, I've soldered a wire on each end, okay, and I drilled a hole and I took the two wires, the two wires from each motor and shoved them through a hole that's here. All right, this is my swivel for the wheels so that I can do a 360 with the transmitter. It'll turn either way or go straight. And then I've got my standard motors. Now these motors are 100 RPMs. I've got motors on order that are 50 RPMs. I don't need 100 RPMs. This goes a little bit too fast as a table. Okay, so that's basically, and this is mounted with some clamps. Again, this is a prototype. It's not the neatest job in the world. So this is a C-clamp that you can get at Ace Hardware. The motors you can buy on Amazon. You want to get 50, even 30. Okay, because you want this thing to move slow, almost as if you weren't looking, you'd say, how did the table get from here to there? That's how slow you want it to go, because this is more of a comedy type of thing. All right, and then of course the wheels are epoxied onto the motors. All right, that's how they're on there. They're epoxied. You buy the wheels at the Harbor Freight, or you buy them online on Amazon. And these wheels happen to be 3 inches, 3-inch wheels. I'm sorry, yeah, 3-inch wheels. And these here are 2-inch wheels. Okay, the swivel wheels. Okay, you want to make it swivel. You want to make sure you don't go past this. And now those are motor. I'm sorry, the two motors are mounted with the C clamp and the hole, and these other guys are mounted also, so that it's pretty much even with the level. The 4 wires from the motors are coming out. Now let's talk about something that you don't get. You don't get this motor control board. You need a motor control board. Now this one cost me $119, okay, from a company called DimensionEngineering.com. And I've been using their motor control boards for the last 20, 25 years. And they've changed, they've gotten smaller, they become digital, they become PCM, all the all of the terminology you don't really need to know at this point. But they've changed, okay? They've gotten smaller and they've gotten a little bit more sophisticated and more digital. All right, so now, a motor control board at Dimension Engineering. This one was $124, I think, with the shipping. And you realize I could buy one for $59.95 that does exactly what this one does. Okay, exactly. Now, what are these? Why did I get this big one? I didn't realize that these are really for BattleBots, competition robots that fight in the arenas, BattleBots, the BattleBot show and that kind of thing. And they're also for heavy duty robots like my Brain Games robot over here. Okay, because it's carrying a lot of weight and the motors are wheelchair motors and that kind of thing. These motors are not wheelchair motors. They're not carrying a lot of weight. This is maybe less than 10 pounds, maybe 8 pounds, 9 pounds. So you need the motor control board, because the motor control board coupled with the motor control board wire, male only, you don't need female. You cut it about halfway because that's all you really need. This you would discard because you don't need it, or you could save it for some other application. All right, but this particular model has the male side on. These you can buy. They're called servo wires. You can buy these online. You can buy them on Amazon, eBay, whatever. So you want to buy you want to buy at least 4 or 5, because this is I say it was 6 channels. So maybe you want to buy 6 of these, just so you have them. Okay, so you got the 6. You got the 6 channel servo wires. You buy 6 of them. They're not that expensive. They're maybe $1 a piece, $1.50 a piece. Okay, so that's that. You are only going to use, when you do the wiring on this thing, the male side. You're going to cut the female and you're going to strip it with a wire stripper so that all 3 are stripped. Okay, now, the motor control board, you can get one at Dimension Engineering for $59.95. So you can buy one that's half this size to do the same thing that I'm doing here. And it comes with 2 servo motors attached. Okay? I think it's called the 225-5. I'm not sure. There's a 5 in there somewhere. All right? And it's got the 2 wires pre-wired, ready to go. Okay. Here is the receiver that you get with it. Why did I do that with that? Here it is. This is the receiver you get with that. Okay? So you get this, right? And you get a charging cable, because this is wireless. This is charging. You got to plug it into a 5-volt charger, or whatever kind of charger you have. Like your phone, charge your phone. So you get the receiver, and you get the transmitter. You get the pairing loop, which you don't need to use, and you get a charging cable. This is $29 for the 9 yards. Okay. You need to buy a motor control board. Okay, again, that's going to run you about $60 plus shipping, maybe $65, $70 just for the motor control board. So you have the transmitter and receiver but you need to get yourself a motor control board. Again, this is a more expensive one. I didn't need to get this. I got it anyway. Okay? I don't know why. 59 is better than 59.95 is better than this amount of money. Okay, so now I got the transmitter and the receiver. Now, bad news. Bad news is this receiver you see here, okay, is made for special servo cables. Special servo cables. I don't know why. This is what they did. So when you go to try to plug your transmitter cable in here, it won't fit in there. It won't fit. Okay. It won't fit. So in this particular case, what I had to do was I took my screwdriver. All right, see, there's a border around this guy. It's a border around the pins, and these servo males won't fit in that border. So what I had to do was cut the border away, and all I did was took a long nose pliers and bent them down. Okay, initially. Then I found out all I needed to do really was there's two nipples on either side. All I need to do is take a flathead screwdriver, stick my fingers in there, and just twist. And the whole top came off and gave me access to the receiver. So if I do that now, okay, let me just do that now. Take it off. Now I don't have a problem with the border anymore. See that? I can plug this right in now. See? So we'll just plug that in. Okay. Now remember, when you go to plug these things in, they have to be plugged in a certain way. All right, so now that's plugged in. It's not all the way in. I didn't press it all the way down. But you would press it all the way down. And you want the black on the outside all the time. So, because that's the way it works. So you press it down and push it in. And now if you look, you can see the receiver and the servo cable plugged in together. Okay, good. Now, I know this is long, this video is long, but it's very important if you're interested in using remote control transmitters and receivers, hobby remote control transmitters and receivers, to accomplish anything. Okay, so now here's the receiver. I'm going to put it back in the box for now. Give me a second here. Get this back in the box. Where's the top? Okay. Okay, got the box. The plates is back in here. Well, dropped everything. Okay, so we'll take the transmitter board, put it back in the box. Okay, we'll turn it around this way. Okay, and then we'll take the top, place it on, and snap it right back on. Okay, but when you get it, just take off the casing. All right, snap back in, just like so. Take the casing off. Velcro it like I did right here. I Velcroed the bottom. I Velcroed the board into the case, and then I plugged in my servo cables. Now, what happens is when you activate this, okay, with a battery connected, and I'll get to the battery in a second. You activate this. It sends a signal to the receiver, which activates the receiver, and then it also sends a signal to the motor control board. So that now when I move this forward or back, this joystick, it's going to make this guy go forward or back. So I'm transmitting from here to the receiver to the motor control board. Now the motor control board is exactly what it says. It controls the motors, and you got two motors. So this particular motor control board and the 5995 one controls two motors. That's what they're made to do, control two motors. Now, if you want the two motors to be controlled via the motor control board to go forward, okay, you would press this button forward. If you wanted the motor control board to make the motors go backwards, you would push down on the motor control board, and that would make it go backwards. Now, if you wanted it to go left, you would move the motor control board to the left, and that would make it go left. And if you wanted the motor control board to make the motors go right, 360, you would move the motor control board right. Now, you learn this stuff by training yourself to do it. You practice with it, you're moving this back, forth, left, and right. Any other things you want to activate, maybe you got a smoke machine or something like that you want to activate, some kind of thing you can do. You can also use this. This is important for me for the Anverdi table. I wanted to be able to make the Anverdi table so that I could make it, because the original Anverdi table only went two ways. It went forward or back. Okay, now you had to line it straight up, and you had to make sure that precisely your wheels were locked in a certain way, mounted on there, that kind of thing. With this, I don't have to worry. Because not only do I have forward and back, but I also have turn left and right. And I can control the direction. If I want to make it go squiggly, I can do that. If I want to make it go straight, I just hold it in one position. You understand? But this is the ability to use the tank-style steering. I use that expression because transmitters and receivers were installed in little tiny tank toys and that kind of thing. So that's what this is. All right. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, oh, gee, I don't have to go crazy. I can go buy a remote control car. Okay, and I'll get my remote control car, and I'll use that transmitter, and I'll hack into the receiver, take the receiver out. That's for you guys who know about electronics. Okay, yes, you can do that, sure. Okay, but you have enough voltage and amperage, that kind of thing. All right, this is precisely what this is made for. The motor control board is made for hobby remote transmitters, like this one here, a transmitter like this, and receivers like this. So use the right tools for the right job. Okay, so now, all I've done is stick a 9-volt battery. I could have took a 12-volt battery, stuck it in here. I could do whatever I wanted to do. But I went out and I bought myself one of these 9-volt battery, let me get this right, 9-volt battery holders. And I'm using these 9-volt rechargeable batteries. They're called Karatax, K-A-R-A-T-A-X, 850 milliamp batteries. Okay, these are the most powerful 9-volt batteries you can buy, and they're rechargeable. You get four of these with a charger for $35 with the $40 with the shipping from Amazon. So that's where you want to go, and it's small real estate. There's no real estate involved, and you just slide this back along the tray. Get that in there. There we go. Now it's got an on-off switch, which is great, because the on-off switch, you don't have to wire a separate switch on here. So 9 volts, small, powerful 9-volt battery. I think regular Duracell batteries, or even the high-end ones, only go up to 600 milliamp. You got 850 milliamps, the most powerful 9-volt battery you can get. Okay, so, and that's in a Velcroed onto the base housing, which you can buy 9-volt on Amazon. 9-volt battery housing with on-off switch. Type that in, and you'll get one of these in the mail. Okay, the receiver and the transmitter, I told you, and the remote control, motor control board. Okay, so now you're going to run a power supply, the 9-volt power supply, into the motor control board. Okay, and you're going to run 2 wires from the motor control, from the receiver into the motor control board. All right, and you're going to run the 4 wires that come off the motors into the motor control board, and that's how it works. Now you say, well, gee, why don't you give me that information? When you buy the motor control board, you're going to go and whichever one you bought, the $59 one or the $124 one. This is a 2X25. Okay, motor control board, 2X Sabertooth 225 motor control board. At dimensioning.engineering.com, DIMENSION, same, so no space, engineering.com. So you'll see this one, and you'll see the $59 one also up there. So that's what you want to try to focus on. Now, you don't have to make a remote control table. You can use this for other things. You can make your own little robot. You can do whatever you want. I wouldn't suggest, if you make a robot, that you buy the $59 motor control board. You get the one that's $124, and you're going to use more than 12-volt battery, more than a 9-volt battery. You can use 12-volt battery pack with an on-off switch, or you can get, a lithium battery with a rechargeable plug or somehow, and wire that into the plus and minus. Because you have, in the motor control board, you have M1, and it's got two screws for M1, which is motor 1, whichever one you want to make motor 1. And then you've got motor 2, so you would plug those two wires into, screw those on to the motor control board. And then you've got the power supply in the middle, plus and minus. You want to make sure you don't accidentally mix the minus and the plus. Okay, so that's the one side. The other side is these servo wires. You're going to plug those into channel 1 and channel 2 of the receiver, because that's what gives you the motor control. Okay, that gives you the tank style steering. Receiver 1 and then receiver 2, 1 and 2 portals, I should say, or plugs. The two motor control boards go into that. Doesn't matter which one you plug into whatever, but if you want to go right and you see it going left, then you got to switch the two wires, because you don't have that exactly right. Okay, and the motor control board also has dip switches on them. They're little tiny switches, and when you get the motor control board, it tells you, if you want tank style steering, flip the dip switches this way. I use a little tiny screwdriver, and you only have to do that once. Once that's done, you may not get anything coming out of it if you don't have your dip switches set correctly. Okay, I had to set the dip switches on this yesterday because I didn't have it correctly. So I went and I set the dip switches to what the instruction said, and it worked fine. Okay, so that's it. 9-volt battery, receiver, motor control board, motors on the bottom, swivel wheels on there, motors epoxied with the wheels, and you've got the system. Now, let's just see what it looks like, okay? I can't move it that much, but I'll move it a little bit so you can see. So I've turned on the switch. Make sure I have it. Okay, so now the switch is on. Okay, I'm activating the remote control transmitter. So that's on. Now this is active. I'm going to just move it a little bit here so you can see. So I don't want it to fall off the table. Okay, and you can actually, so you can see how that works. I'll just lay this sideways. See how the wheels work independently? Okay, and then if you want it to work together, that would be forward or back. That would be forward or back. And again, spinning one way, spinning the other way, gives you the tank style steering. So that's basically it. And these are wire anchors. There's wire anchors. They're little plastic anchors so that the receiver antenna, which is this guy right here, stays stationary and you're not hurting anything by doing that. So this is it. Any questions? You guys have my email, you have my Facebook, that kind of thing. This is going to be an Anverdi table. I'm going to add to it. I've got 5 other channels I can use. You know what I'm saying? If I want to flip a sign down, say the Great Frank Paris or whatever, I can do that. Adding a servo to some kind of a sign, make some kind of a mechanism to do that, and that would maybe could be one of these buttons here, one of these guys. Right now, the only thing I got is this. That's all I really need. But what's nice is I can hide it. I can stand up and I can have it in my hand like this, and I can move my table. Okay, so basically that's the way that works. Nothing to it once you know how to do it. That's what I always say. So let me just turn off this guy. And by the way, this charges up. This charges up. You'll know when it's charged because this whole thing lights up when it needs to be charged and then comes off when it doesn't need to be charged. Let me turn off the on-off switch on my 9-volt battery. This is great for about 3 or 4 shows, but I usually charge up my 9-volt batteries. I charge up my 9-volt batteries and I bring 4 with me, and I always have one fully charged in the box. Okay? And I have 4 that I charge up, and if I put one on and test it, it's not working correctly, I'll plop another one in, you know. So 9-volt batteries, rechargeable ones, Kratax, Kratax, Amazon. Transmitter receiver, it's called the DS600 remote control, and that's on Amazon too. It's $29. Get the transmitter and receiver. Servo control wires, you want to buy single, you don't want to buy split ones like this. You want to buy male coming all the way down to a female wire, single wire. Okay? If you wanted to control 2 things at once, you may want to use one of these, but I don't have any reason for doing that. And that's 2 functions with 1 stick, or 2 functions with one of these guys. And it's not practical for this particular application to do that. Okay? I think that tells you everything about it, and it only took 42 minutes and 27 seconds. So Frank Paris, over and out. Enjoy. Any questions? Facebook me, text me, call me. I'm there for you. All right? Frank Paris, over and out. Thanks, man, for watching.